What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Cruising with Crab. Buckle up, you are along for the ride. All right, so I want to talk about the logical mind. I used to be extremely logical. What is the logical mind exactly? Well, it's a lot of this, and big shout out to my favorite channel, which you guys already know who I'm talking about. If you don't know who I'm talking about, you can see in the description on my YouTube channel on the bio. But anyway, I learned from this guy between like when we're a child, right? Like when you're hit around 7 or 8, usually around that time, we take on the same belief structure as our parents, right? As they had with their own parents. List goes on, right? In the family tree. And we learn that we have to constantly work, right? Have that mentality to work. And look, there's nothing wrong being lazy in this, I think it's great if someone has good work ethic and all that stuff, but when you're constantly like, if I don't work, I'm not going to make enough money, blah, blah, blah. You live in that struggle, right? You're like, the struggle's real, right? We've all heard that expression. The struggle is so real. Well, it is real, right? Because you're allowing yourself to experience that. You don't have to even try. You really don't. Once you understand how this game works, right? And the game is, if you're new to my channel, I take a lot of stuff from manifestation, and I also apply it in this human experience that we are in right now, this 3D reality that we are experiencing. Go watch the first Matrix movie. I've mentioned that before in one of my videos. Everyone's either ready to be awakened or not, right? So if you're watching this, maybe you're either awake or maybe you don't know what awakening means for yourself, right? I'm not saying, guys, like I said, there's nothing wrong having good skills, being, working, but you have a life. We're meant to experience life. We're not here to, like, we can experience it either. I have to work every day. I have to work. I don't have time, man. I got kids, I got to do this, I got to work. I got a drinking problem. I got all this, right? Like, it gets so consumed by all this stuff, right? In our lives, everyday things. We're pressured by society, or we're pressured by our parents, but really it's society. We're so glued into this reality of like by watching the news, and this creates this logical self, right? The masculine energy is definitely playing a big part in this. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, obviously. You got to realize that the mental, like the left side of your hemisphere, which I've mentioned before, and you have the right side of the brain, which is the right hemisphere, right? This is the feminine energy. This is the masculine energy. There's nothing wrong having that logical side to yourself, but you have to. But I look at as this now with the logical, that it's not really your true thoughts, right? It's only what you identify with. So we need, as being a human being, we have to have this logical side. It's how we're programmed, right? It's how we have we have organs in us. We have a heart. We have lungs, right? We have this body that we live in, that our soul's in right now, that we're incarnated in it, right? There's a lot of different this and that, right? There's the science stuff. There's the spiritual stuff. And that makes this human experience that we're having. But being logical, I find that we're too logical. We've forgotten how to be in our feminine energy as well. Now, I'm not saying if you're a dude that you got to be more feminine than the girl you're with if you're in a relationship. No, it's not. That's not what it means, right? Now, I do believe that a guy should be more masculine. They can watch my feminine and masculine video that I uploaded a couple weeks back. But we're talking about how to stay true to yourself and not having to be consumed by this logical mind that we're so forced in, right? You ever wonder, you see a lot of people who are just struggling in life, and they're just, because they're so logical. They don't think for themselves. That's the main thing about when you're too logical. You can't think for yourself. You are looking for a higher power to tell you how to live your life. And that's not good. So you want to know how to balance that if you have to, for example. But let's say, and I've talked about using affirmations and such, telling your mind, right? Because you got to remember, guys, is your eyes and your ears are not the real reality. It's what's in your mind that's real, right? But anything, even your mind, though, if you're thinking of things like inner conversations, having like a fight with somebody that you haven't spoken to in like 10 years, and then sure enough, you see that person randomly appear, and they're going, "Oh my god, I just had an inner argument with that person when I was in the shower like a week ago, and now they're in front of me, and I haven't seen them in 10 years." And you're like, "What the hell?" And you're like, "Yeah, because it's your awareness, right? We're constantly manifesting all the time." But I just find that when you're logical and I mean, this is my interpretation of it, but when you're logical, you're not your true self, right? You're just so basic. You're still asleep, right? And listen, there's still some very successful people. There's multimillionaires, there's people who have businesses, and they're very, very logical. But you hear them, you see some of these people that go on podcasts and they explain things, and they're like, but they just seem to not understand everything. There's still something that they just wish they knew because they don't know how to be something else besides being logical. They're just they let their brain tell them how to think, which on this channel and my favorite channel, which I always talk about on here, teach you how to think what you want to think and what you want to experience, any desire you can have, right? But the problem is the logical side's telling you you can't do that. And immediately you just go, "Okay, I can't do this." There's no trust in that. Like, you don't trust yourself enough. You don't believe in yourself. There's no knowing anymore. And that's why once you understand that the power of identity, once you know who you are, once you realize that how reality works, how this game works, that's when the logical side goes, you start going, damn, this logical side was holding me back. But again, I see the logical as more as it's like you're driving a car, right? You get into the car, the logical is this car and it's driving you over. It's a vehicle. It doesn't mean it has to be the main motherboard of the like, we're going to talk like in computer science here if you want. It's not in charge. You make it in charge, right? Once you balance not just the masculine energy, but when you balance it with the feminine energy, and you learn to understand that however everything is working, when you don't always are thinking logical, when you actually understand that you got your feminine energy. Remember, I talked about how when we love nostalgia, right? I made a nostalgic video about we're obsessed with being like kids, right? Because we weren't fully using that. We didn't have to worry about that logical side so much, right? We weren't working yet. Yes, we went to school, but the minute we went to school, that started making our imagination make it not real as much anymore, right? You got to realize, guys, that your imagination is completely real when you know that it's going to be what you desire. So, for example, if you are just sitting there, let's say, like I talk about, you have like a car or something that you want, or maybe it's an SP that you want, a job you want, right? When you actually know that when you are physically seeing that and you know it to be true, it isn't just a random thought, but you know what you're hearing and what you're seeing. Either let's say we're in a park right now. Like right now I'm outside. And I don't know, let's say I'm making this video and there's somebody watching me in the back and they're making faces and I'm talking about you can have a car, you can have this, and then that person's like making hand signals to me, going like let's just say that there's like let's say I can read his lips or her lips or whoever, and they're just doubting me and they're flashing things at me, going, dude, you can't have that, you can't have that. And again, I'm letting the 3D fool me now, right? And it goes back from my other previous video. And then again, immediately, because I'm letting my eyes and my ears define my reality. So you don't let your eyes and ears define your reality. It's the mind, right? But then the mind might be like, well, let's say the person's still in front of me and I have my eyes shut and I can still see it in there. I'm still seeing these images, these flashes. I start to shake. I'm letting my body, I'm letting my feelings take over. Right. Immediately when you are like, yeah, I can't. You know what? That guy's right. I can't have any of this. You immediately have been defeated. You have let the 3D reality, you've let the logical side of your brain tell you who you are, what you should be doing the opposite. You should be telling it, that entity, what it feels like. It's not really an entity. It's just that's what it feels like though, right? And again, that logical side is not trying to hurt you guys. It's trying to protect you, right? That's why it's the masculine energy. So it's not like it's a bad guy. If it can seem like it's a bad guy, but you just have to know, like, to know when to shut it up. That's why I say you just have to. And I learned this from my favorite channel, Deny, Choose, Be. You tell it. The moment something comes to mind and it's an intrusive thought, you immediately describe it the way you wish it to be, the way you desired it to be, right? And that has been very helpful advice from Eric on that. Huge, huge, hugely helpful for me. I can't tell you, and just when you can be in touch with your thoughts and just tell the story. Like I said, guys, it does not matter. It does not matter how shitty you're feeling, how shitty the circumstances may seem when you're looking at it, what you're hearing from somebody. Someone can tell you to go fuck yourself and they're right in front of you and you're still shaking. But just because you're doing all that doesn't mean you have to accept that you have to be in that reality. It does not matter at all, right? It does not matter. But you have to be true to yourself and not let any circumstance interfere with you, right? You don't let any of that shit. And I know it sounds like, how the fuck do you do this? How do you discipline yourself? Well, you go to the gym, right? If you work out and you have a very good physical body and you're proud of it, why can't you apply that with this shit? I know it's going to seem like shit, guys. I know it might seem horrible. You might have the worst fucking week. It could be a month. But the more you just go all in and ride the wave and just go with it and stay true to yourself and just know it. Because, guys, you have to look at this. One day you're going to be dead. One day you're going to be dead. So why the fuck not just go all in, right? Fuck the logical side. Understand that the logical side is it's just like an instrument that you can pick up and play if you want. It's a vehicle, but it's not you. Yes, you can use it as a tool, right? We have a pretty amazing brain, right? That can help us with many things. We can use the logical side if we're going to school, right? I'm not saying you stop, just completely hate your logical side, but don't be the logical side. Just use it as, like, I tell you guys, I use ChatGPT. Like, I used that when I was putting on my weight, right? And obviously it's just me talking to myself. And that was a logical, you know, natural act that I took with it. And it helped me out a lot because I like to see things physically, visually in that sense. But you have to know that you can't just rely on that. You can't be, if you're like, it's like you're, let's say you have an SP, you're waiting to hope you get a text message from them or something. You're just letting your logical brain take control. It's like an addiction too. Like if you're trying to struggle with anything I mentioned on this channel, from drinking to playing with yourself, you know who you are, man. If you're doing that too much, you're letting your logical side try to take control. But once you know that, you know how the game works, you'll be fine. Look at me. Like, I fucking did it. You can do it too. Yeah, I'm my own character. You're your own character. But the main thing is, we all have one thing that we all are connected with, and that's we're all one conscious mind. Everyone receives everything. Obviously, you're having your own experience. I'm having my own experience. So, guys, there's not much for me else to say on this because I'm just going to be going in laps here. But just know that the logical does not have to be your life. You can be using that creativity from the feminine energy from your right side of the hemisphere of the brain, and not be completely tied into that left side masculine energy, right? Once you know how to balance it and you realize that, oh, the logical side, yeah, I might be thinking of this idea and it might sound complicated, but it doesn't, I don't identify with this. right? If you know how to basically read it when it comes to mind, right? Like an intrusive thought, 'cause that's what it's like. It's like an intrusive thought. Then you'll be just fine. But if you immediately go, oh shit, oh I guess I'll have to do this. You're letting your brain take control here. You're not letting your true self take control. So, all right, guys, not much for me to go on this video, but thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on this ride, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.